As you heard from Chris there are real fears this conflict could spread and become a regional war. We want to talk more about those Hezbollah militants firing rockets into northern Israel, with Israel launching counterattacks. So let's bring in our senior correspondent, Susan Ormiston. She, of course, has extensive experience covering the Middle East. Susan, always great to have you on. What's the latest on the threat to the north?
Well, as Chris explained, it's been a confusing day. There were reports of paragliders coming into Israel from southern Lebanon. They turned out not to be true, as Chris said, but what we do know is this is the fourth day of tensions on that border, southern Lebanon, northern Israel, because there have been various artillery and rocket attacks on both sides of the border, some fired by Hezbollah into Israel, and the IDF responding, seeing some of that damage you see on the Lebanese side. So it's just a tense area, this strip of land which really separates two enemies, Israel and Hezbollah. And I should say there are other Islamist groups who are as well looking at that border and taking advantage of the situation. One got into Israel on Monday, I believe it was, and that was from a different Islamist group. So it's just a tense area of this war, and the fear is, of course, that one of these incursions, one of these rockets and missiles going across that border will set off something bigger, and the whole world is worried about that. We saw the Secretary General of NATO mention it today. Antony Blinken, the U.S., who's on his way to Israel right now, is also talking about that. We heard U.S. President Biden say yesterday, do not take advantage of this situation, just don't. So these tensions are consistent. And Chris also mentioned these sort of countrywide air raid siren going off today, and we saw evidence of it during a news briefing by a representative of the Israeli Foreign Ministry.
Okay, we have to go to the safe room. I'm sorry to cut off this connection. Thank you for being with us. I'm sorry, but there is a probably attack on Israel right now all over.
That wasn't exactly accurate, that the countrywide sirens had gone off because of a perceived threat. But imagine if you're living there trying to figure out whether these sirens are real or not. It's a very, very difficult situation.
What more can you tell us about Hezbollah and its links to Iran?
Hezbollah is funded and supported by Iran, as is Hamas. But comparing the two, Hezbollah is much bigger, much more powerful. I saw one figure that Iran had fortified Hamas with $100 million and $1 billion for Hezbollah. So they have a huge arsenal of weapons, maybe 150,000 artillery and missiles aimed at Israel, says the IDF. So the concern is that something will happen, and this may draw Hezbollah or others into the fray. And we are hearing that in Lebanon, even in Beirut, which is not in the south of that country, people are getting nervous. They're getting nervous that this will spill over the Israeli border into Lebanon or maybe Syria or other countries. And they're starting to think about what their options are to get out of Lebanon before it becomes insecure. And you heard Ottawa has changed its notification for Canadians traveling, advising not to travel to Lebanon.
Susan Ormiston, senior correspondent, always a pleasure.
Thank you.